Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode on the podcast. And I'm going to be going into Tier 2 of the NFL Iceberg. This one's a little bit shorter, or should be a little bit shorter than Tier 1, as there are a lot less possible theories on this. And as well as I'm not going to be trying to bring down anybody, because in this tier there are a lot of people that are still alive, so I will not be trying to come after their character at all. I'm just bringing up mainly the facts on this one, and as well as the Aaron Hernandez topic. In this, I will not really be bringing in any of his personal life, just anything that was really related to the case. So that's really all I have to say before we start Tier 2. Please like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, and please follow. Oh, sorry, I hit the mic. Please follow the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to this on. Be really appreciative, and thank you. And let's head right into Tier 2. So kind of for the first theory, or the first topic on Tier 2, we have chronic traumatic, this is going to be hard to say, encephalopathy, which is just CTE for short, which everybody kind of calls it and everybody knows as CTE. And it's a brain degeneration due to repeated head traumas, which cause concussions, short-term memory loss, impulsive behavior, and depression. And these type of injuries require like urgent medical attention, and usually is recommended to find urgent medical attention. But for a lot of these players that do get CTE, it is kind of hard to tell if they will have it, because a lot of the cases, these people have dealt with depression, and they just nobody's really been able to see it. And then usually the brain scans after their death kind of reveal that they do have CTE, and it was a big part of them playing football. One big case that really opened up CTE was Junior Seau, who unfortunately died at his own will. And later on they did see that it was CTE, because he was suffering depression mainly because of this condition. And then also another one was Vincent Jackson, who was a wide receiver for the Chargers and Buccaneers. And I believe just last season, he also died at his own will. And that was also because of depression. And again, that was due to a possible CTE diagnosis that happened after his death. And many people believe that Antonio Brown could have CTE, and who really knows? Because you can't really see. I believe you can't really see it in a brain scan while the person's still alive. If I'm correct, I'm not really too sure about that. But a lot of people just say that because of, again, some symptoms of CTE being impulsive, and just lots of depression, I guess, in a lot of people seeing Antonio Brown, and also just it's a part of the game. You're gonna have a lot of head injuries, and that's why CTE is such a prevalent problem in the NFL, is because of what these men have to do to play the sport. They're gonna have to injure themselves and cause CTE. It's a very rare case, with only with fewer than 20,000 cases in the entire United States. So that's pretty small in my opinion. There are some treatments that can help manage the condition, but there are no known cures for it. There's been some minor cases of CTE where it's possible that the patient only has it for several years, but in most cases it is a lifelong problem, and a lot of them do have a lot of problems with CTE. In an interview, former running back Thomas Jones spoke on having concussions, and I'll put the segment here.
I'm not really sure about too many misconceptions people have about athletes with concussions. I mean, I just think that until you've had a concussion, you really, can't imagine how that feels. It's like an out-of-body experience. That's really what it is. I've had times where I've been hit immediately, and I've seen stars like in the cartoons, where you'll see stars. I've been hit where I've seen black spots. I've been hit where I see two of you. So I see you're here and you're here. And I have to try to put you back together. I've had times where I've been hit and I literally have been in the game, and the coach or the quarterback or somebody was talking to me, and I literally was just, I'm hearing you, but I'm not listening. Like I said, it's an out-of-body experience. It's an out-of-body experience, for you to have a concussion. And I see guys who are hit and they're out. And I've seen guys, I don't know, countless guys get knocked out right in front of me, bang. And the first thing that you usually see is it's almost like their body and soul, when their soul left them, because it's instant, boom. And then it's almost like, okay, soul comes back in, body, and then kind of go back. It's crazy. It's crazy to see it. I mean, I've seen guys get hit, get a concussion, and you look on their face, their contacts land on the side of their cheek, bleeding from the nose, bleeding from the ear. I mean, it's tough, man. It's tough. It's serious. Concussions are serious. But we're just trained. We're warriors. We're trained to keep playing, to fight, keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting.
And that brings us to possible hidden concussions in the NFL. Last week in Tier 1, I talked about this, mainly because I was talking about how hidden PED results could be held hidden for people that are really good players in the league. And for this one, for hidden concussions, I've heard many stories. Gronk continued to play because he just didn't feel like it was that bad, but ended up being pretty bad because he blacked out and didn't remember the entire game. And in the same Thomas Jones interview, he did talk about how the constant hits that he got, he would continue to play. And while those may be his best games, he had not remembered any of the plays that he had before or after he suffered the concussion. Calvin Johnson was told that he cleared the concussion protocol when clearly he did not, because he still did not feel good. And he felt like he couldn't play, but he was told to go out there and play. Same with many players, just being told to go out and play, even though they have suffered this concussion. And like Thomas Jones said at the end, that they kept playing because, they kind of had to, or they felt like they had to. A lot of players felt that, especially in playoff and Super Bowl games, a lot of players just kind of decided just to fight through the concussion, mainly because it's a big game and they don't want to let their team down, when really, you're probably more of a liability to your team being concussed than being healthy. So a lot of players have come out and said that they've hidden their concussions from the team, the coaches, everything, and they've continued to play. But it's a really bad situation in the NFL, just overall, just with concussions. And yeah, hidden concussions, very big deal in the NFL. Now moving on to something that's kind of outside of the NFL, was the Ray Lewis murder case. I'm going to say murder case with quotations around it, mainly because Ray Lewis was not involved in the murder, even though a lot of people think that he was. So this case started in 2000 when Ray Lewis and a couple of his friends were at a Super Bowl party. And then after the party, I guess, there was some extracurricular talking. And that led to two of Ray Lewis's friends fighting with the other two people that were talking. They were fighting, and that somehow led to two people being murdered. And Ray Lewis was just watching, so he was a witness to the murder. So he wasn't involved with the act of murdering, but he was a witness, and I think that's what made most people kind of remember, is that he was involved in the case, but he actually was not. He was, but he was a witness, and he was not actively killing anybody. Ray Lewis was a witness to murder, and he was not involved. So at the end of the case, everybody was acquitted on charge of all their charges, mainly because it was said to be self-defense, which is, not warranting for being sent to prison for murder. Even though Ray Lewis was in prison for just a little bit, I'd say, mainly because Ray Lewis, he kind of, I guess you could say, snitched, if you want to say that, on his friends for the party, mainly because Ray Lewis just felt that if he kept anything, then it just caused him more trouble, and also he just wanted to continue playing in the NFL, which he did. And in 2013, which I'll talk about later, he did win a Super Bowl. He basically told, the judge everything, the court everything, basically everything that happened that night. And then his two friends that ended up committing the murder had no prison time whatsoever. Ray Lewis, I think, served some time, mainly just for some minor charges. I think he was out after 2 days. So he hadn't really been in prison for that long. So then everybody was acquitted of their charges. Nobody went to prison really, or spent elongated time in prison. So just a lot of misconception around that case. So I was just clearing that up with that. Now heading into a very heavy topic. Here is domestic violence. Now domestic violence, I'm not really going to be going in too deep with it. Just a slight trigger warning if the mention of it is bad. But domestic violence has caused for 55% of the total arrests in NFL players, which is, the highest actually. It is 55%. It is the highest arrest, I guess, for most of the NFL players in the league, which was interesting when I first saw that stat. I didn't think it happened that much in the NFL, but now looking back on it, there have been a lot of cases throughout the years of a domestic violence charge against an NFL player, and some people relate it to a possible CTE symptom of aggression, or head trauma symptom of aggression, which is a possibility, but I really wouldn't. The NFL has kind of put that out there as the main narrative, as, oh yeah, you got head trauma and it's aggression, so it's not our fault, it's their fault, type of thing. But really, it is the NFL's fault, I'd say. The NFL hasn't really punished players for domestic violence through the past. It's gotten a lot better as the years have gone by, but it still is kind of bad. Many players can, unlike Ray Rice, where Ray Rice was just banned from the NFL overall and just wasn't able to play. You have players like Adrian Peterson, who a lot of people kind of forget, but he was related in domestic violence charge. And then, he's a great player overall, but, he's still in the league. Kareem Hunt, who is also in a domestic violence charge. He's still playing in the NFL. There's a lot of punishments that really aren't there. I mean, luckily Darius Geis, who was fine with the domestic violence charge, he was released from the football team, and then hasn't really been able to play anywhere. So I mean, it's been getting a little bit better, but I feel like there's a complex in the NFL that since they're in a power, like a position of power, NFL players are in a position of power, that they can really just get away with anything. And the NFL that isn't really doing anything to stop them from doing that. There's a lack of discipline that has been shown. So, if you're not really showing any backlash against the player, then the players are going to continue to do it, because if they can do something and get away with it, most likely those people are going to be able to do it, and they're going to be able to get away with it. So, it's just really bad, and really bad situation in the NFL. And I think the NFL should do a lot more in trying to punish these players that have done these bad things, because a lot of players just feel like they can get away with anything because they're famous football player, but in reality they're hurting other people, and they're hurting themselves. So I think the NFL really should do something about this. Now heading into our next topic, which is again I think the next two are pretty heavy topics, but I will end it off on a lighter note. You can probably skip to the end, but this one is going to be about Aaron Hernandez, who was a former tight end for the University of Florida and a former tight end for the New England Patriots. There's been a lot of talk around this one as of late, but he's had a lot of run-ins with the police and court and everything like that. In 2012, there was a possible double homicide attempt where two people were shot in a car, and one was shot in the back of the head, survived, and one was I believe shot in the arm and also survived. Now this one was ended up not being Aaron Hernandez's fault, mainly because it was the witnesses and victims claimed that it was somebody that looked like Aaron Hernandez, basically profiled him as Aaron Hernandez, and he pointed him out in police investigation. But other witnesses at the scene of the crime said that it looked more like a black male, not a Mexican or Hawaiian male. And the victim said that it could have been Aaron Hernandez possibly, or he thought it could have been Aaron Hernandez possibly, mainly because of words that they had at the nightclub, I believe. And it was pretty bad, I guess. But the victim ended up being wrong. It was not him. And Aaron Hernandez was, acquitted of all charges there. And then in 2013, Miami shooting of Alexander Bradley, who was one of Aaron Hernandez's friends at the time, and basically, their friendship around this time of the shooting was kind of sour. There were cops at a strip club that Aaron Hernandez was at, and there were cops there, or possibly cops. Aaron Hernandez thought that they could have been undercover cops that, didn't have any uniform on. And then Alexander Bradley was kind of trying to rationalize the situation as possible cops. The cops could just be there for that 2012 double homicide case, because I believe it was still going on around this time. But they were just looking into Aaron Hernandez, and there was no formal arrest. around this time. And then I believe so. And then Alexander Bradley, he went home. But then later on, a few days later after this, Alexander Bradley was found shot in a parking lot. But he did survive. He just had to, he ended up losing his right eye from the incident. And he decided not to talk about Aaron Hernandez. He did not speak on who did in fact shoot him. But I mean, before the shooting, you can see many texts between the two that were just, that were bad. And then after the shooting, just many death threats sent to each other via text. And it was just really a bad situation there. And then in the end, the 2013 murder of Odin Floyd, which is really the main killing that he had, Aaron Hernandez had. To go more in depth, Odin Lloyd was another friend of his. So the body was found at a park a mile away from Aaron Hernandez's house. And then when he was questioned by the police, he denied any murder accusations, and then he went to the Patriots front office and said that he did not commit a murder. But from this, he was banned from the stadium, and multiple players cut ties with him a week before his arrest. And he was charged with first-degree murder and 5 related gun charges. 2 other men that were possibly going along with him were also sentenced. He pled not guilty. He pled not guilty on September 6th, 2013, but later was found guilty on April 15th, 2015. And then he was sentenced to life in prison due to the Massachusetts legal side. Any murder charge is warranted for life in prison. And then there was no motive that was really found, but a possible motive was that Odin Lloyd could have known Hernandez's bisexuality, and Hernandez did not want to go out. And this mainly because the NFL was kind of closed-minded back then, I guess you could say, in 2013. About 9 years ago. Now we have the first gay player in the NFL, but it was I guess it's understandable to not want your sexuality to be released out to the public, especially in a group of people, in a community that's not really that accepting, I'd say, back then. But I don't think it's warranted for murder. So there's a possibility that has been thrown out there. I'm not sure, really. There's a Netflix documentary, The Killer Inside the Mind of Aaron Hernandez, which I would consider checking out if you are interested in what really happened. But that's really all I could kind of get into without being demonetized or, something from YouTube. And going into another another heavy topic, was the Michael Vick dogfighting topic. So Michael Vick, he was playing in Atlanta for a while, I'd say since 2003, 2002. He was a really big star in Atlanta. Every kid wanted to be him. He's an electric star in Atlanta. And then in 2007, he was arrested and sent to prison for nearly 2 years on dogfighting charges, and also just breaking some of his parole conditions, which made his sentence a little bit longer. Now I believe that he did not have any dogs that fought, but he would host the dogfighting parties, I guess you can call them, and was also betting on them. So obviously was guilty on these charges. And he was reinstated into the NFL in 2010 with the Eagles. And then he won Comeback Player of the Year in 2010. And then he went to the Jets and retired with the Steelers. Many people remember him for his career. He's kind of, a lot of people don't really believe him when he did start to be an advocate for dog safety and dog health, especially after he was released in 2010. A lot of people believe that he hadn't really changed. He was just doing what would have been seen as good from a lot of people. He's earned a lot of forgiveness from a lot of people, mainly because now that his career is over, a lot of people just mainly remember him for his career, even though there are a lot of dog fighting jokes when it does come to Michael Vick. He just was arrested in 2007 for the dog fighting charges, came back into the NFL in 2010. Had a pretty good career with the Eagles, and then kind of trickled down with the Jets and the Steelers. It kind of shows the lack of discipline from the NFL, but he was imprisoned. I guess you can differentiate the man from the career that he had, and he had a really great career, but a lot of people still are friends with him, and he's still kind of public out there with multiple TV deals. So, it's interesting to see that what happens, but really big situation back then. Now ending off the episode with a lighter topic will be the Super Bowl 47 power outage or blackout. So the Super Bowl was with the Ravens against the 49ers in 2013, which in my opinion is a really underrated Super Bowl because that was a great Super Bowl. But this happened with about 13 minutes left in the third quarter. And this halted the game for about a half an hour. And at the moment of the blackout, the Ravens were up 28-6. And then after the blackout, the 49ers rallied all of a sudden to cut the deficit to 28-23. It was getting close there. Then the 49ers kind of went up again to the Ravens 7-yard line, but they in a controversial no call on fourth down, they turned the ball over on downs, and then the Ravens went down, scored a little bit. The 49ers went down, scored a little bit, and the Ravens ended up winning 34-31. On the last play, the Ravens took a safety, so technically it was 34-29, but the final score 34-31. The Ravens won. Ray Lewis got his last ring and retired from the NFL. But the main theory with this is that could Roger Goodell, could he have really, forced this power outage and somehow aid the 49ers in possibly winning the game, or some higher up official or something that caused this blackout? Because, the 49ers were doing really bad before this. They were down 28-6 at the start of the third quarter. It just was not looking good. Then all of a sudden they score 17 straight points to go into the fourth quarter with only being down 5 points. There's a possibility that this blackout could have been caused by somebody that wanted the 49ers to win. They ended up not winning, but that's really the main argument, is that the 49ers still didn't win. So, how effective was the blackout? But still, I mean, that question's being floated around. Could have somebody with a lot of power force this blackout at Super Bowl 47 and possibly led to the 49ers rallying to only lose by 3. But who knows, really. This one was just kind of a silly one, I guess, that you could throw in there due to just the heavy topics in Tier 2. So it's kind of a fun one. It's kind of up there, not really that serious, but it is a really interesting one to look into. And that'll be all for Tier 2 of the conspiracy theory tier list. Iceberg, I guess you'd say. I will be doing the Tier 3 next week. I'm probably only going to do half of those series because that Tier 3 is kind of long, so I will probably be splitting Tier 3 into 2 parts, but so far that is it. I may release a video of ranking the conspiracy theories so far from the past 2 tiers, maybe. Might shoot that one if I do have time, but overall, really great Iceberg so far. Let me know what you guys think of this. Make sure you share, like, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, and share and follow or subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're on. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you.